Hi, my name is Joanne from 123stitch.com. Today we're going to make a frill. What's a frill? A frill is a series of small designs from the very talented Cecilia Turner of Heart and Hand Needle Art. They are companion pieces to her popular Tiny Town series. You can either take the design and add it onto your Tiny Town, or you can make this cute little frill, which is just a finished no-sew cube. There are, I believe, 13 patterns in all. You can see them all here. There's different topics, different holidays. They can all be finished the same way. So I'm going to show you step by step how to make your own frill. There's no sewing involved. It's pretty easy. I'm going to walk you through the whole thing. Before we get started, please go down below and subscribe to our channel. And everything I mentioned will be listed as a link down below. Let's make a frill. Okay, we're going to make the Halloween frill. I stitched this on a 32 count vintage country mocha linen, and I think it turned out cute with the witch's little green face there. So we have our stitch project. We need a backing fabric, and for that I've chosen this pretty orange. I think this matches perfectly. By the way, the fabric I usually use for my backings are Bella Solids by Moda. They're a nice heavyweight, medium to heavyweight cotton. But the most important part is they're available in so many different colors. I can always find something to match my project. There'll be a link down below if you want to see all the colors. Sometimes the cotton that you get is too thin. This one's a nice weight. It works perfectly for projects like this one. So we have our backing fabric. We need a couple pieces of batting. Any batting will do, just a little. We're going to put one on the front and one on the back of our cube. We need our cube. This is a styrofoam cube that I've cut to size. If you can find the right size, fantastic, but odds are you're going to need to cut it out of a block that looks something like this. This you can get in the art supply or even in the gardening floral section of your craft store, Michael's, Hobby Lobby. You're going to need to cut it to size. I'll explain briefly how I cut that in a bit. We're going to need cording to go around our design, and I've made this cording myself. I picked 3 colors from the design, and using the Kreinik custom quarter, I twisted them together to make a nice size cording. For the size, just so you know, it's pretty small. It needs to be small to fit around the cube. You don't want anything too big. So what I did is, of the 3 colors, I did 1 long strand of each, folded them in half, twisted each one separately, and then twisted all 3 together. If that sounds complicated, I do have a video that I'll link down below where I show you how to do it. It's really pretty easy. In the video, just so you know, I show you how to do 2 colors, but 3 colors is the same way. You just add a 3rd color, twist it separately, then twist them all together. So we've got that. We're going to need a bunch of pins. Applique pins are nice. They have a flat head. Whatever pins you decide to use, just make sure they have a flat head. You don't want a ball point on it because we're going to be pressing it into the styrofoam, and we want to make sure that that doesn't show. We will be using some of Aleene's tacky glue, and trim for the top would be the last thing. Any kind of trim to decorate the outside of it. This one I have a little lace around the outside edge and then a ribbon on the top. I'm going to probably do a rickrack and a ribbon on this one. So those are all the supplies we need. So let's talk about how you decide how big to cut everything. I usually do a 1/2 inch to 1/4 inch around my design. So I determined that I needed about a 3 by 3 cube. You can see that's going to fit on there just perfectly, give me about a 1/2 inch all around. So the first thing I did was cut my cube. So when you get it, you need to mark it off. I just mark like with a pen, it doesn't really matter. And then I use a kitchen knife with a serrated edge, an old knife. And then when you cut it, you kind of do a sawing motion. It's messy, but a sawing motion seems to work best and get you the straightest cuts. Doesn't need to be perfect, but make it as clean of a cut as you can. And the thickness of the block that I had was about 2 inches, which is just perfect for me. If the piece you find is smaller, you may want to glue 2 pieces together. just use some Aleene's tacky glue, glue them together until you have the size you need. So once I decided the size of my cube, I put the cube on top and then trimmed my fabric, so I had about 1 inch all around. Doesn't need to be perfect, but about 1 inch all around is good. The way you want it to work, ideally, is to have the fabric go about 3/4 of the way down the sides of your cube. Little more than halfway, because we're going to be putting the backing fabric this way and we don't want the pins to overlap. So about 3/4 of the way works perfect. So once we have this trimmed down, we take our backing fabric and we trim that down. So we have our backing fabric cut to the same size. And then we have one more piece of fabric we need to cut, and this is going to go around the outer edge of our cube. The way to determine the size is to measure all the way around the cube and then add 1/2 inch. That's going to allow you a 1/4 inch border, 1/4 inch seam on each side. For the width, we're going to go twice the width of the cube. So in my case, my cube is about 2 inches. So it needs to be 4 inches wide and then all the way around plus 1/2 inch. So I came up with this size, and you can see what I'm going to be folding in half, but you can see it fits just perfectly around the top. So that's a good size. I mean, if you don't want to take out your tape measure, just roll your cube until you have all 4 sides, add 1/2 inch and cut it. So once we have that, there's one other thing we need to cut, and that is 2 pieces of batting to fit on our cube. It's going to fit on one side and the other side. We're going to have that extra little padding for the top and the bottom. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and glue this batting on so it can sit while we're working on the next part. I'm going to use my Aleene's tacky glue and just run some glue on here. Spread that around a little bit and then glue that down. Do the same thing on the other side. To cut the batting, I just laid the block on top of my batting and cut around it. And once I have it glued in place here, I can trim it down if need be. I think it works that way better. There we go. And once it's in place, I can just take my scissors and trim off the little extra on the edges there, if anything overlaps. The nice thing about cube finishes is they don't have to be perfect. That's always fun. There we go. That's trimmed up. Put this aside, put our glue back. We're going to let this sit aside for a couple of minutes because we want to work on this piece next. We're going to go to the iron and we're going to fold each end down 1/4 inch and press that. And then we're going to fold both sides to the center and press that in place. And once we do that, we end up with something that looks like this. That raw edge is fine, that's going to get covered. We'll make sure that it works on our design by laying it on here and making sure the ends meet up. It can overlap a little bit. We can always cut some off if we need to. But in terms of the width, you want it to cover most of the cube. It can be all of it, but most of the cube without anything hanging over the edge. It's okay to have this little gap here. Fabric's going to be there. We're mostly covering up a center seam that we're going to have. All right, so that's done. Now we can start pinning. So we're going to start with the cross stitch piece. If your cube is not exactly square, make sure you're placing it the right way. We're going to get our pins out here. I like to just dump them out. It's easier to deal with them. And I'm just going to do a quick pin on all 4 sides to see where we're at. Go this way a little bit. Once we get the sides pinned in just quickly, then we can tell if we need to move it at all. And it looks like I need to go this way a little bit. So a little bit. That looks good. Top to bottom, we need to come down a little. That looks decent. Let me put my pins in here. When we're pinning, we're going to be going towards the center. And you're just sticking that pin right into the styrofoam. And that's why you want that flathead pin, because it just kind of disappears in there. Make sure it looks straight. And kind of pull as you go too. What we're going to do is we're going to pin all the way around. We're going to leave the corners for now, but we're just going to put pins in all the way around here. And you can put a pin in all the way up to the end. Do the two sides first, and then we'll go back and do the other side. Okay. Got some excess glue on my fingers here. All right. See what that looks like top to bottom. That looks good. That looks straight. Okay, now I'm going to do these two sides. Anytime you look at it and it doesn't look quite right, just quite straight, just take out the pins and move them a little. Do this side. You can see already that this comes together pretty quickly. This is my third frill now. I made the first one, loved it. Made the second one, loved it. And then I thought, you know, I think I'm just going to do a video and show you how to do it because it's so much fun. All right, that looks pretty good. Now to do the corners, you're going to crease it over and make a little corner there. You can cut this little excess off if you want, kind of straighten it out, but make a nice tight corner there and put your pins in. Remember, this is going to be covered by our fabric that we cut and press the ends on. Turn that in. Make sure we have a nice corner on that. Oops. Okay. I'll trim this little tail off here. You can leave that on there, but I mean, it doesn't need to be in the way. So I usually just take it off. All right. Now we're going to do the other two corners. Fold it in nice and tight. Make sure that's all in there nice and tight. One last corner. Trim off our little extra there. And let's see what we've got here. All right, there's our cube on the front. Everything looks like it's spaced the way I want it to be. It looks good. So now we're going to do the backing fabric. And we do the backing fabric the same way. We turn it over here, and then we're going to be putting it on like this. And it's going to overlap with the other one, with the cross stitch fabric. And we're just going to start. This time we don't have to worry about if it's straight or not, or evenly spaced. We just start pinning. Make sure it's nice and tight. Other side. I like this color a lot. Nice bright orange, it's perfect. Okay, let's get last pins in here and then do the other two sides. I like to kind of pin close to the edge because that makes it easier to make that corner. Okay, now if you look here, I don't have corners folded in, so I'm going to put the corners on this side. It's not necessary, but if you've got the bulk already on one side, you don't want to put the corners on top of corners. So this side has no corners on it, so I'm going to put the corners there. I'll show you what I mean, because I'm not sure that was clear. Cut that off. Okay, so when we folded the cross stitch fabric, we had the corners on that side and this side. So this time we're going to put the corners on the opposite sides, so we don't have overlap. Trim this off again. Make it nice and tight. And this is going to be covered, so it doesn't need to be perfect. Another one there. Fold this one in. Nice and tight. Trim off the little extra. And we'll pin this down. Go. And then we'll do the other side. I'm going to get that little corner out of there. Okay. It looks like I have run out of pins, so let me get this last corner in here. And then I'm going to pause for just a second while I go get some more pins. Get that one. Okay, pause for just a second. I'll be right back. Okay, I have some more pins. We just need a few more to finish off. I'm going to make this edge a little tighter here. Okay, so now you can see we've got fabric on the back, we've got the cross stitch piece on the top, and it looks not so pretty on the sides. So the next thing that we do is we cover it with that piece that we cut and trimmed. We're going to start on the bottom of our piece, and we're going to put it right in the middle. This is the bottom, so it's not super important. Just going to put some pins down here. Doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be exactly in the center. It's going to be covered. It's going to be the bottom, so it's not going to make any difference in our project. So I'm going to go right through here. All right, and then we're just going to wrap this around, pulling tightly. It doesn't get pinned again until the very end. Now you can see my ends are meeting up. This is where you could always cut it if you needed to, if it was too much fabric. It's pulled tight, and now I'm going to put some pins in here to hold it all in place. If you chose a print fabric for this border edge, you could always sneak some pins in around here. It's going to show on a solid color fabric, so I generally do not pin. But I am going to be putting some ribbon on top of it, so it will hold it in place nice. Okay. Okay, and this is the bottom of our design, so I'm not too worried about what it looks like. Just want to make sure it's all nice and tight. All right, there you go. That looks pretty good. It's all done. That seam is hidden. Now we want to, I usually put cording on because you can see like there's a little gap around here and it looks so much better with some cording on it. So we're going to do that next. And what I like to do is use glue when I put cording on. And what I do I start on the bottom and I kind of leave a little tail hanging. Put a dab of glue right where I'm going to start. Helps to take the cap off. Put a dab of glue where I'm going to start. And this is again Aleene's Tacky glue, which dries clear. So don't worry too much about any glue showing. I also am going to, because I'm going to stick a little pin in here in my cording to hold it in place while I glue the rest of the cording on. I'm just going to do a line of glue and lay my cording down. That down, go around the corner. Try to be as neat as you can, but the glue will dry clear and you won't even know it's there. I'm just filling in that little gap, that little hole. Go around the top. I like the colors in this cording. I think that worked out well. Making sure it all looks straight and it's just going right in that little gap there. Keeping the corners straight. Around there. Looks good. Now we're going to finish up at the end here. What I like to do is let the cording overlap and hang off the bottom. And then what I do is I just let this sit until it's nice and dry. And then I will finish off the cording by trimming it and putting a little dab of glue on it and making sure everything lays nice and flat. I try to match up the colors in the cording as much as possible so it looks pretty seamless when you're done. All right, so we're going to let this sit and then we'll come back and finish off the cording and I will put the ribbon on top. Okay, here's our finished Halloween frill. After the cording dried, I got some rickrack. I put one pin on the bottom, ran it all the way around and used the same pin to attach. And then I just put together a little wire ribbon on the top and just put that on there with a little bit of glue. And there you have it, a finished frill. This method can be used for any design. It works out really well for Heart and Hand Needle Arts frills, but any project where you want to do a no-sew cube, this is the way to go. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you have any questions, comments, please let me know down below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, and I will see you again soon.